Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 34 of Syncing with ServiceNow. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. I've got the team here. They're all rested up from knowledge, except for Eddie. Eddie's been so busy following up with clients that he hadn't had a chance to sleep in a week and a half, but everybody else has been relaxing a little bit. Not true, not true. We had a good trip. Fred Reynolds, we'll start with you. What'd you think of the conference?
Well, I thought the conference was good. I think I definitely enjoyed it a lot more this year. It's a different perspective, I think, just the fact that we were really busy. We had a lot better presence there, or a bigger presence. I think what I enjoyed
It felt
about
like
it the
we
most,
belonged.
well, sorry?
It felt like we belonged this year.
It really did. I mean, I really liked the combination of customers, ServiceNow sellers, ServiceNow leaders, just every bit of it. It felt like a good mixture to me of meeting with different people. I will say, and I don't know if we're going to go this far yet in the intro, Andy, but I would say my favorite time in the overall conference, and you said it all, it's probably how XenTegra Foundation, but having that time to get with our customers, and ServiceNow in an atmosphere, just kind of let your hair down and just talk, play darts, and just hang out, I think was just the most productive time I think I had there. So
It's the biggest selling week, interacting with clients week of the whole year. And we definitely saw that this year and will continue, I'm sure.
And I think they
Mike,
just got to see the heart of who we are and what we do and why we do it, because it's just not about out there trying to chase them, chase anybody. It's really about just building that relationship and connecting with them.
yeah.
I'll stop there.
Mike Sabia, that was your second, third, fourth, fifth ServiceNow.
Maybe fifth, but it's actually the first one I've attended as a partner. My early years on the customer side, I attended maybe four of them, but this is the first opportunity I had to attend in person as a partner, with COVID happening and all that. I thought it was fantastic. When I was on the customer side, I got to go to a lot of sessions. They were, generally general learning. I was talking with a customer, and it was his second year. And in his first year, he went to all the sessions, and it was great, but it was all general learning. And his plan for this knowledge was not to go to any sessions, just talk to partners, go to the ServiceNow booths and learn directly. And I personally, aside from his experience, I learned a lot, talking with our ServiceNow partners, talking with some other ServiceNow partners, talking with our clients, what their needs were. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with your customer. If you could just go to the expo hall and go to the little breakout sessions in the expo hall hosted by ServiceNow and maybe some other partners, vendor partners or partners. I got a lot out of the handful of those I was able to just sneak off and go do. Eddie McDonald, that was 10th ServiceNow knowledge for you or something?
So I can't remember if it was my sixth or seventh, and because I used to drink a lot when I was younger, I think I blacked out during one of them. I'm not sure. But
New Orleans.
no drinking this time at all. It was soda water and lime, and I had a blast. I bought a new suit, and the suit looked amazing, and so I looked amazing. So that's always a win. But one of the big takeaways was how much the ServiceNow leadership wanted our time. Our name is everywhere, and everybody wants 5 minutes of our time. And some of the biggest wigs on ServiceNow were, we were there. Andy, Fred were, blocking us down in offices, picking our brains about what we're doing. So that was a very exciting part for me.
Yeah, there's no doubt that I felt we were much more accepted there this year because of the way we're doing it and how much hard work we put into this last year. We're definitely getting attentions from ServiceNow, other partners, other vendors, and specifically from customers that I was shocked how many came to find us at our booth. You guys brought this blog from Atlanta Gates here from May 14th of this year. It says 4 key takeaways from ServiceNow Knowledge 2024. Let's jump into this. Number 1 listed here is AI is the future and the future is now. That's not surprising to hear that, but I think it's applicable. Fred, you want to jump on?
Sure. I mean, I would tell you that what's interesting, like I said, I didn't really get to go to any of the breakout sessions. What I did get to go to was a couple of the keynotes. We knew that AI was going to be the main focus for this, and I think this blog is really talking about the key focus or takeaways from knowledge from their perspective or this person's perspective. What I do like about the conversation about AI and the ones that I had as sidebars, people who went to the sessions came out, was a good use of, a bad term here, use cases that were used to talk about it, how they can use that, right? So I think a lot of people are interested in how they can use it, and they're getting a lot more use cases because we have a lot more people starting to dabble in it. So I do think that it is here now. to help them to figure out how to, you always had that lingo of ServiceNow help break down silos, then ServiceNow helps you automate the mundane. And I think now AI is trying to help them do the same thing in different ways. The most exciting conversation I had around AI with this was, I think, Mike, you were there talking to CJ and a couple of others, that we're going to have a panelist around AI in the development space, was how they're using AI to go back to some historical documents or knowledge sharing documents to go and pick some more information around trying to help them solve or trying to find code for a certain thing. So I thought it was really neat how the development teams are starting to use AI as well.
Yeah, Mike, your thoughts on that?
I think it is fantastic. I mean, the main use cases are, hey, case summarization, helping developers. But at one of the keynotes, they had a kind of a real life acted scenario of a bakery, and the bakery, you know, they don't know how many cake pops to order, and you know, the weather is certainly a factor, but also other details such as news articles, or you know, when school's letting out or when the days are, and you know, what, in addition to what things are actually selling in the store today, so they know what to order. And all of that's going to be influencing AI. Now, when a customer comes to ServiceNow and says, hey, what does AI mean? They probably think of how to automate their business, automate some of their things, but you have to realize it's that whole scenario of what your factors are. And as a customer, and as they should be planning for AI, they need to not think more than just, hey, AI. They need to think about, hey, what type of things are we going to measure? What type of things do we need to measure? What's the investment going to be? Because ServiceNow does charge for AI, but what is the return? You have to start planning now, even if you're not ready to do AI now.
Mm-hmm. And Eddie, from a business development perspective, as the business development overlay, talking to our customers, where did they walk away with AI as part of knowledge and feeling more comfortable with it is something they've got to be looking at?
It absolutely is. And, you know, so technology in general, and I heard somebody describe it this way, and I think it's so applicable. It's like business AI platforms are kind of like the journey of the cell phone. Right now, we're in the BlackBerry stage, and generative AI is like a BlackBerry. It changed the game versus the previous iterations of cell phones. Have we gotten to a smartphone yet? Probably in the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to explode. But this BlackBerry version of generative AI changes the game. It makes that's what BlackBerry did to business, is what generative AI is doing to business right now. It's bringing it up to the next level.
Right. And it makes the future undeniable.
It's going to overtake all of it pretty soon, which is going to get really exciting.
Next topic here, and I know Fred is really excited to talk about this one, so we'll let him go. We'll let him go first, since he had the biggest opinion on this one. Human creativity can never be replaced. I think this is kind of the offsetting of the AI conversation. Fred, your takeaway from maybe seeing this session, and then now that you've had a chance to reread what the session was about, your thoughts.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks for putting me on the spot. I was hoping I go last on this one. No, I think it's about having an open mind in this. I think I was so super hyper focused on AI and the machine part, and that taking away from jobs. Even when they started talking about doing this from coding, I really was concerned about how AI would play a role in that. So much focus has been about AI and replacing humans in some way. So I think this whole session, and Mike really opened my mind up to it, because of this session, I really just started multitasking, but it was really trying to put the human element in there, human creativity, what we come up with to make it work. So it's kind of like collaboration with the machine, and how do we make these things work? So, you know, for me, I think the conversation I had post this too around the human creativity part of it is made me start thinking about a couple of customers that we have, and I started talking to them. Although it doesn't seem like an ideal place to put AI, especially when there's a lot of things out in the field, you wouldn't think it'd make a lot of sense. But really just trying to explore some of those conversations of, you know, how creative can we be with trying to automate some of the things using Gen AI? That was kind of cool.
I just thought it was funny, in the middle of the session, you stood up and shouted you wanted more robots, more robots. How's it doing that?
I just I didn't understand why a musician and a actor was on stage talking about ServiceNow, but I kind of get it more now. It was more about the creativity in their roles.
I loved it. I thought that I was actually in the expo and they were showing it up on the screen, and I went and sat down because I think John Baptiste and Dan Levy are both amazing. But and I was on a call right before this podcast started. I was just on a call and I just told a customer a few minutes ago. He asked me about integrated risk, and I'm like, so I'm not an expert. And I said, I'm not an expert because it's so boring. I like the parts of the platform that engage the end user, that actually helps them with their individual work days and get them better. And this is where the creativity piece of that human element of ServiceNow comes in, because nobody follows ITIL to the letter. We all have good practice, and nobody's ever following best practice. So strict AI and strict processes, we have to be creative to meet the customer where they are and pull them into good practice. And that can't always be done by machines. So you have to have that human element involved.
Mike, your thoughts?
I think exactly what we were just discussing. AI is a tool, and they were talking about just John Baptiste and so forth. But earlier Fred was mentioning, hey, I'm really excited about what it can be doing with development, and that's true. But it's not as if you can just hand it off to development. You need somebody to review it. You need somebody to say, well, this is what I want, but how can we do it in a different way, a new way, so it's not stale. Super powerful. I think there will always be a human element. But even in the first keynote, the CEO was mentioning the fact that 30 years ago they said computers was going to lay everybody off, and now new positions opened up. I think the same is going to be true with AI. It's going to open up new possibilities. It does need review and oversight and verification, but it's just going to open up new possibilities.
Yeah, I think for me, it's an enabling tool, and that tool might be the thing that can do the mundane stuff. And it might be the thing that's also teaching and educating and coaching the stuff the human has to do. And if a human can manage to organize both of those things, they'll be able to get a lot more successful work done quicker.
Yep.
All right, Mike, we'll let you go on this one first. Collaboration is vital is number 3 on the list.
I think it was during the second keynote, they brought somebody from NVIDIA on. And they were talking about the fact that ServiceNow's ability with AI is based on the fact that these other companies have brought up the capability. And ServiceNow is doing its generative AI with its own LLM, so that when ServiceNow needs to do a case summarization or needs to make a code suggestion, it's doing it with its own LLM, not sending it out to the public. That is based on the fact not that ServiceNow created it themselves, they are leveraging a relationship, but keeping it themselves. There's always that opportunity to collaborate with others, but be distinct.
Yeah. That's, there's a lot of talk about open AI, and open AI started as a nonprofit that became a for-profit company, and how the idea was this collaborative place where was going to be free for everybody to learn from, and that was going to accelerate this thing. And then people started to realize, why would I do it for free now that I can monetize that? Is ServiceNow saying that they want theirs to be available, they want to use others, and it should all be collaborative? Is that kind of the idea? Or are they saying that there's areas where it makes sense to be open, but there's areas where it makes sense to be closed?
I think the fact that ServiceNow's customers don't want to send their information outside of the ServiceNow universe means it, to some extent, has to be private. But they're able to leverage the work that other people are doing. And in addition, of course, going back to the previous topic, number 2, is the collaboration with AI as a tool, as it's a collaboration to find something bigger.
Yeah. Eddie, is this coming up in your conversations with customers?
Well, not specifically this right here, but this has been the message from ServiceNow as long as I've been in the ecosystem. I mean, they had a slide that they would show people called Now on Now. It was a ServiceNow internal system with all of the integrations. And they would say, we're never going to replace SAP or Workday or AWS. That's not what we do, but we integrate with them. So we're better together. That collaboration message is built into their DNA. So this does not surprise me at all.
Yeah. Fred, this kind of aligns with, my logic of how all these IT integration systems come into ServiceNow and then go back out from ServiceNow, but it doesn't replace them all. Is that kind of what you're feeling?
Yeah, I was going to say two things from this. Collaboration vital. So from this article, thinking back to knowledge, I mean, that's what knowledge is. It's a big collaboration of everybody, the ecosystem coming together. And I love to see how much collaboration was really happened in a couple of ways. I mean, Andy, you're one that love that collaboration. I mean, you brought me and Eddie over to talk to the partner people and brought us here and brought us there to really collaborate. What I've seen since then is we've had a couple of customers make some connections there, and they're talking with other people, collaborating to solve some of the use cases. So, and back to the point of like understanding how ServiceNow integrates or works with others. I mean, you got a lot of lists of big names there, Microsoft and others, which we know. Last year, they even talked about how to do it with Salesforce. In my conversations last week so far with some of the people we met at Knowledge, I bring up that one slide. I always do that kind of says, hey, here's our view on it, right? ServiceNow is in the middle, and here's all these other types of technologies, and be it what it is, monitoring tools or whatever. That really resonated in both the calls I have, because they're like, didn't realize you guys did more than just ServiceNow. And that's really important, because yes, we have experts in all these areas, and we collaborate with ourselves internally to deliver some of those sync integrations that are needed. So that's what I took from it.
Yeah. Okay, finally, the fourth one is number 4, women techies are on the rise. I'll start off with this one, and I find it interesting because this concept, this workflow, this world of, as a service delivered platform, not product, but platform, I see a very, very applicable space for women to be engaged in, because if we're serious, if it's us 4 guys here and we're serious about, how things get done in our households and around us, a lot of times it's the workflows that the women in our household are making, applying to our daily lives. And now it's taking that same concept through technology like ServiceNow and applying it to business. When it comes to technologies like this, not necessarily the old school stuff, the routers, switches, and the old engineering type of technologies, which women could do just fine as well. But the idea of this workflow and improving process, yeah, I'm not surprised that women are playing a larger role, and expect them to play even a larger role. What do you think?
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, it was a woman that got me into ServiceNow 12 years ago, and I am a tiny fraction as intelligent as she is. We all know her as Kristen. So she was my entry point. And, I think there's like half of our architects here at XenTegra are women. I mean, so we embrace the talent where it is. And I don't know that was a conscious decision to choose the men or women on our architectural team. We hired them because of their skill set. And I think that speaks volumes to women in tech are getting the recognition they deserve.
Eddie, I like you said like that. One, I like diversity because I think it's great for people to come from all different walks of life, all different types of skill sets. But, seeing that the women techies are rising, or women of this or women of that, I'm not sexist. So when it's based on their talent, and me and Mike have had a lot of interviews lately, is some of the resources that's really blown me away is some of these women techies, because just like you said, Andy, they put some of those, a different touch to it of their thought process. Like I just talked to someone recently about HRSD. She was so passionate about it, so passionate. And I'm like, I've never seen anybody be passionate about that. I'm like, Eddie, in that space, I'm like, that's boring. But she was so passionate. And we're seeing a lot of that. Interviewed a young lady this morning, straight out of college. I was like, oh man, she'd be great in the pre-sales and trying to, no, I want to get in there and code. I was like, dude, that is awesome. So it's really interesting to see some of how much they're getting in there. When I was in college, Andy, you were with me, you didn't really see any women in the engineering. I had like one in my whole computer engineering firm. Now it's completely changed. It's very interesting and neat.
Yeah. Well, I think the times have changed, but I also think, workflow technologies, process improvement technologies are very logical for women more than they are for men. Mike, any thoughts on this?
I'm going to echo what Fred said and add a little bit. We've had quite a number of interviews, and yes, I absolutely want technical skills. I want experience with multiple platforms. I want to ask them technical questions, have them answer it. But some of the soft skills, which we traditionally associate with women, are the ability to empathize with the customer, to work on those workflows. And neither one or the other is strictly women or men, but been pretty excited about the perspective that the women I've interviewed have on the approach to ServiceNow, more so than, or in addition to, the actual technical details.
Yep.
Well, there's certainly an area in this part of consulting, in all parts of consulting, where some of those empathy, understanding, caring, being willing to ask the one extra question that everybody may assume they know the answer to. I mean, guys kind of like to assume we know things, right?
Yes.
Like directions.
So there might be there is an area for women to add value and actually be better at it than guys. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Mike, anything we didn't cover from ServiceNow Knowledge 2024 that you would have put on your top 5 list?
Bring more comfortable shoes.
A lot of walking.
A lot of walking. A lot of walking.
Mike had newer shoes or nice shoes, and he even showed them to me day 1. And by day 4, he was like, "I hate these shoes."
I actually switched shoes because the first ones gave me blisters. Comfortable shoes is on my radar for next year. But overall, it was fantastic. I loved being there. It was a great venue. I thought the engagements we had with customers on the expo floor, as well as our happy hour, was fantastic.
Yeah,
We're looking forward
Eddie,
to next year.
Eddie, what would you put on? What would you put on number 5 on that list?
Well, unlike Mike, I did know about the shoes. So I bought a pair of Amberjacks before, which are supposed to be the world's most comfortable dress shoe, and they did not disappoint. So big thumbs up for Amberjack shoes. You know what? The logistics, it was a little bit off because it was a bigger footprint. There was more people, like the, logistical things, like you had to get your lunch and there was nowhere to eat. You had to go downstairs. And so little things like that. But for me, what I found interesting was there was a lot of what I call micro partners there that had a very, very tiny sliver of area of expertise. And it made me curious why they would come to such an event, because their target market is so small. So I'm wondering if years that go on, if that trend is going to continue, where you've got the XenTegras and the CDWs and the Accentures, and then you have 50 partners that nobody's ever heard of because they do this tiny little sliver. That was curious to me.
I think so. And I think a couple of things from that. I think it'll give us an opportunity to continue to add value to people who attend as part of us, and not get washed out by the size of the events. And I also think there was an announcement this week where a partner, at least a part of their business, if not the whole thing, was bought by ServiceNow because they had this one little special app that ServiceNow wanted into their
That might have been what they were doing. They were putting a for sale sign on their booth.
Pretty much. Yeah. All right, Fred, one more takeaway you would have that wasn't in the 4 that we just reviewed.
Oh man. Well, personally, I would say that everything in my power, I can never be late to one again. I felt like I was always running behind, and I needed an extra day. I would love to see Knowledge be, 2 days prior to the event starting, where people can meet, sit down, and have good conversations that last longer than 5 minutes and feel rushed, and then be able to go to some of the sessions. To me, it wasn't long enough, but that's probably just because I was a day late. But anyway, overall, did not attend a session this year, which is odd. I usually do, but I don't feel like I missed anything. Good thing is they record them, so we'll all get recordings of all the sessions, so I can go back and do those. But no, I think it was just a great year. I mean, I was super energized for the number of people we brought there, spent time with, and the investment that XenTegra made into the overall, Knowledge 2024 this year. So already looking forward to next year, but don't want the synergy to stop. So I think we have to do a lot more through the years of taking that same atmosphere. It has to be smaller, obviously, but doing more of what we've had there, more conversations.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, right? So we have a directive to maybe get some executive briefing field trips set up.
Yep.
I'd love for us to get some type of, user syncs, user group type thing going. I know ServiceNow has the snugs, but man, they don't seem to really be happening. If we could find a handful of key markets, maybe where you guys just live, that we get snugs going, or not, if not snugs, then some form of a user group meeting. But for me, the takeaway was there's so much more we can do. We're just getting started.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for the time today, and I appreciate you recapping this with me, and I'll get this posted, and I look forward to having another conversation in 2 weeks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.